Thank you for clicking. This video is a lot of things. It's me talking about the next slide, but it's also me talking about the channel, talking about some personal aspects of my life, some subject that will be sensitive. So if that's something that you'd rather not hear, you may want to click away from the video. If you're still here, I appreciate, and yeah, let's do it. 10,000. That's right around the corner. I apologize because lately I haven't done as good a job at keeping up with comments. This is something I like to do, is to respond to everyone, and I haven't been quite as fast and quite as good recently. Today is going to be an interesting video for me. First, because I want to say thank you and I want to pre-celebrate the upcoming 10K. And I've mentioned her from time to time, but one of the things that pushed me to live my life on my own terms is the passing of my mom. And when I made my first video after coming back to YouTube on the WinMax 2, I left some Easter egg about her. But yeah, today I don't wanna hide her. I'm going to put one of those because it's a celebration of this very channel. And I'm going to put her here. And she's going to be with me during the entire video. See, the thing, and this is something I'm extremely proud of, but the thing with celebrating is it reminds you of the people you wish were there to celebrate with you. And I'm sure she would be very proud. I'm sorry, I've never shied away from showing my emotions. I'm not about to start today. And I apologize for a long intro. I just wanted to get that out of the way. Now, of course, I will be reviewing the next slide, but I will be giving it away. To participate, very simple. Make sure to leave a comment. You don't have to subscribe if you don't want to. You have to be living in Canada or United States. And shortly after reaching 10K, I will be giving it away. Without further ado, I've been sitting on this box for the longest time. It's still wrapped up. I haven't opened it. I had it for as soon as they released it, really. I bought it wanting to review it, and I never did. For all the different pieces of the puzzle that have led me to this moment, and I'm so happy that there are many of you here for the journey. And I hope to continue to grow and to bring you content that you find value in, information that I can help you in your gaming peripheral needs and desires. Anyways, enough rambling. Let's open it for real this time. Here in all its glory, the AYANEO Next Lite. Now, if I recall, I think it's a Ryzen 4500 chip in there, so it would be awesome for emulation, for Moonlight, all that kind of stuff. Probably not a AAA machine. AYANEO Next Lite. Real gamers, no gamers. That model is extremely similar to Razer's, which Razer's is extremely similar to Fubu. You know, Fubu, the clothing line from the 90s, which was for us by us, and Razer is for gamers by gamers. And then AYANEO is real gamers, no gamers. I feel like there's a bit of inspiration being passed around. So this is the color I went for, the sky blue. Let's just go a little further down the box, see what's in there. Now the funny thing is, I haven't talked about AYANEO in quite some time. I ordered pretty much every console they've put out since, but there were always considerable delays for shipping, so I ended up canceling them. I should have covered the Flip, I should have covered the Kun, I should have covered the Slide. Yeah, it is what it is. They don't really seem to use that font as much these days. Yeah, 4500U, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and 512 gigabytes of storage. Let's see if I'm actually curious to see if it's going to power up, because I had this sitting in a box for, as I said, literally months. So the battery should have been in a fully dormant state. We have power button, volume up and down, 2 USB-Cs, 1 at the bottom, so 3. That's awesome for a device at this price point. I think it still goes for $350, I'm not sure. Here we have a 3.5 millimeter jack. D-pad feels nice, a bit stiff, but it does feel nice. Membrane buttons, nice sticks overall, glides very nicely because you have what is seemingly a metal skirt and stem for the sticks. The thing is, AYANEO like demolishes everything on the market on some areas, but they speak as if every different areas do so. And then you have other areas where it's like, you know, like the audio, for example. So I don't expect much in terms of the audio for this one, but I'm just hoping that the Pocket Evo is going to be the one that does push them to new heights. So it would have been amazing. And no, it doesn't power, so I'm going to have to plug it. In the meantime, I'm going to peel this off. The device looks quite squarish, you know, minus the little two handles, but I'll say the ergonomics are quite nice. It's also quite a hefty device. It's always well balanced. AYANEO tends to do a very good job with that. I was expecting something that would feel lighter, but it's definitely not a light device. It has some heft to it. Right off the bat, I don't know that this is going to come across in the camera, but the tones are fairly warm and the brightness is super high. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and do all the, you know, the initial stuff and come back with a device. So we are in the process of installing Steam. There is this one game I want to try, which I feel could be beautiful and perfect for a device like this one. But as Steam is doing its thing, let's go ahead and have a look at the display. Now, this is our select start, which is, you know, it's not new of the AYANEO devices. When it comes to these two, I don't know what they do, at least not at the time being. So it's kind of nice that you have access to the latest ISpace. They have come a long way when it comes to ISpace. Still not perfect. This is something I think used to be borderline terrible, and now it's quite decent. You don't have any extra buttons or any extra paddles or anything like that I noticed on this device, but it's kind of okay. I don't mind it as much on AYANEO devices because as far as I'm concerned, I was never able to use these buttons to remap some of the main ones. It's always like functionality, like alt tab or, you know, close window. Maybe that has changed, by the way. I haven't looked into all the different updates with AYANEO, so if that has changed, my apology. Okay, so this is a 1280 by 800. This is perfect. I thought it was going to be a 1080p, and like you don't want to have a 1080p on this. That's the track I always play when wanting to test speakers.
Les jours d'offre Prime auront lieu les 8 et 9 octobre. Offrez-vous des économies exclusives réservées aux membres Prime. Magasinez des offres sur les produits électroniques, la mode et plus à l'occasion des jours d'offre Prime, les 8 et 9 octobre.
The sound is okay. I mean, it's not the worst I've heard from an AYANEO device. It seems as though there's a fair amount of space and the body, at least the way that it reverberates, the way that it resounds. So it creates this little bit of vibration, which is not too unpleasant. It's not the greatest, not the worst by any means. It's serviceable. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm not on my A game right now, and I apologize. I'm in my head so much. It's definitely audible, and there's not a whole lot of vibration to it. That to me, it resembles what I expect from the AYANEO 2, which is not superb in terms of rumble, that is. I don't know how much of the... Man, I'm being terrible. Hey, we're about to hit 10K. Let's become worse at our job. That's basically what's happening right now. But I heard the word cathartic probably a couple of times in my life, but it's only very recently that I understood what it meant. And I think this video is definitely that for me, if I'm being honest. I just need to power through it to make room for the greatness that's about to happen. And that will continue to happen because that's just one milestone. There are many more down the road to achieve. I'm gonna go ahead and there's this game that came out today that I am probably gonna buy, but I haven't tested it. So there's a demo. So we're gonna play the demo, see how that feels. I just went and had a look. There is a $299 version of this device, which is 128. Yeah, 128 gigabyte storage, I got it at the introductory price, which was $299 for the 512. So that's why we have this bigger storage option. I'm here composing my thoughts before I actually game, and I'm thinking about everything else, right? Because gaming, of course, is going to be a very important notion of this device. But there's other things like the feel, the quality of the materials, the buttons, everything, considering the price point, and then comparing to, okay, what else is at that price point? And one that inevitably comes to mind is going to be the Steam Deck. And I'm thinking about this. And of course, the Steam Deck has a lot of value proposition based off of what you're trying to do. But if you're looking for a Windows machine, I think so far that this feels like a very interesting solution. First, because it is at a price point that is quite affordable, but also because you are on Windows and there are so many games that you can offset by just being on Windows. And yes, Steam as well, but specifically, I'm talking about Windows. One, there's Game Pass. Now, yes, there's a subscription fee, but still, there's a lot of games that you can get there. If you buy a lot on Amazon and you have Amazon Prime, the amount of free games that you can get on Twitch Prime, which you get by default when you're an Amazon Prime member, are tremendous. I have probably gathered easily over 300 games over the years. I think you should be buying this device if you're really going the indie route, that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be a lovely device, and the controls feel nice. The screen, once again, looks very, very nice because it is sharp. There is no light bleed. And this is a very dark game, so I'm going to crank it up even more. Yeah, let's crank it up all the way. I'm definitely seeing tearing. I don't know if that's going to come across in the camera. I'm going to go ahead and activate VSync, I'm sorry. There we go, tearing gone. All right, so let's play this game a little bit. The graphics remind me of Alien 3, if any of you ever played that game. It was a Metroidvania was it on Super Nintendo and I think on Sega Genesis. It was actually a very good game. And these graphics, they kind of remind me of an updated modern version of Alien 3. It's kind of like what it's making me think of. But yeah, I've been wanting to play Metroidvania for a little while, so nothing better than one that just came out. And I've done the demo for Embers of Magnolia. Loved that. Well, the demo, it's kind of a early access, but really they just released one version and they're gonna release the full version in January, I believe. Man, I'm hyped for that game. You've seen me cover it from time to time in some videos. Truth is, I'm not focused right now. If I'm being perfectly honest, I can barely see because this thing is far. I'm at an angle to film, not an angle to play. So let me go ahead and put this game instead. I saw someone mention Fan the Deck talking about this game, and I had no idea this game even existed. And I ended up buying it, and I've been playing and having a blast. It's basically as if this console was invented in the 1980s, 1990s, and they made this whole slew of full-fledged games, and some are like very short, some are very long, and they are built with the constraint of what that device would have existed. So it's almost as if there's like a multiverse with another console that is not a Nintendo, but it's very much like one, and they built 50 games for that device. It's an awesome awesome title. I've been having a blast with it, and I've been playing this game Porgy. I'm 52% in. I've played like literally hours of this. That's basically all I I did most of my Sunday. And it's this almost Metroidvania like, I guess, where it's kind of a mix and match between Dave the Diver and a Metroidvania, and I've been having a blast with this game. And much like Nintendo, you always only have 2 buttons, only these 2. And yeah, this game in particular is a lot of fun. And yeah. And I figured, you know what? It is a little more bright, a little more colorful, maybe too much. In fact, let me go ahead and lower the brightness a little bit. But you know, this is, in my opinion, this is the perfect device for that. If you want some indie games that are not too heavy and you want something that is affordable and is a proper handheld, all while retaining the features of a Windows device. So you have access to Game Pass, you have access to Steam, you have access to Epic Store, where you can also pick up a bunch of free games. You can also use that for, you know, remote play, Moonlight, probably even a decent Android emulator. There's a lot of things that you can do. And again, AYANEO does have a great focus when it comes to screen quality, ergonomics in general. These are things that by having hold this device for about 40 minutes, it's easy to see that they have done a great job when it comes to these different aspects to it. Oh, this is not where I need to go. I'm probably gonna die because you know, I'm not being too careful with my run right now, but oh, okay, this is where it ends. There's this boss I haven't managed to beat yet. Whenever I get this message, it means that there it is. Man, I'm so not ready. Yeah, guaranteed I'm not gonna beat it. And that's the premise of the game. When I lose all my fuel, I basically am sent back to the station, and then I have to find where the boss is, which alternates. It's not a set position, and I have to find other items to keep getting stronger and stronger to be able to go into the depth of the sea and find I don't know what, because I still haven't finished this game. I'm really enjoying this title, and there are a few more that I have played just a little bit. There's one that I have a gold cartridge, which means I technically finished the game, which is kind of that mini game where you throw a walrus and you have to deal with the wind. Anyways, it sounds like nothing like that, but a lot of fun games in there. Highly recommend it. And I think it's like 97 overwhelming positive on Steam, and it's one of those games where you're like, oh, okay, let me see for myself, and it's totally worth it. Yes, it comes from a different era, but the games are fun and they are modernized to bring a certain quality of life aspect to it, all while retaining a challenging aspect like the games were back in the 90s. So yeah, it's very true to form, amazing work. And you know, it's easily games I can imagine would have released back when I was a kid, maybe with some slightly adapted and updated features, but for the most part, it feels like I'm being thrown back into an era, but with fresh new games. I'm just rambling here because I am really enjoying it. Anyways, guys, I'm going to stop it there. The AYANEO Next Lite. Love the ergonomics. The screen looks great. It looks phenomenal. The colors are bright. 60 hertz, but you know, considering the price point, it makes a lot of sense. And I love that it's an 800p, but it doesn't look like it has terrible resolution or anything. It looks just fine. Buttons feel great. The D-pad is a little on the stiff side, but because it's membrane, I know very well that I could easily play with that. And the fact that it's flat for a game like this one, oh my lord. I've been trying to play this game using the sticks on every other devices because the D-pads are never good enough. I could play with D-pad on this one because it's such a perfect D-pad for platformers. You know, you can just sit your thumb there. It's a membrane, so it's not going to hurt after a while. And you can easily coast from one arrow because it's a flat design. Now, I don't think it's necessarily going to be the best D-pad for fighters because of those steep corners. But if you just want to play like platformers, Metroidvanias, things like that, indie games where the D-pad is required for movement, yeah, it's going to work for sure. I mean, you don't really have to. Most games nowadays, you'll be able to do it with the stick. But if you wanted to do it with the D-pad, for sure it's going to work here. Maybe you want to steer clear from Nintendo. Well, that's a great way to enter the market. Maybe you don't necessarily want to go for the smaller retro handhelds, which are also great devices. But this is far more powerful with far more capabilities, a larger screen, a larger build overall. So if you want something that feels maybe a little more like a fully realized handheld, you definitely have this here. I'm actually quite pleased with it. And so there it is, guys. As always, I'll make a public post once the winner has been decided. I'll also post on the comment of the person who won. So make sure to have your notifications on to be able to see that message. Unfortunately, I had a giveaway about a month or two ago where I never heard from the person, and that never happened. I ended up giving the controller away to someone completely unrelated. So it would be sad if you were to win and miss it. But yeah, if it doesn't get win, I'm just going to raffle it again. But I'm going to give whoever the initial winner is some time to show up and show out with their brand new AYANEO next Lite. And again, just to close the whole loop on this, thank you very much to everyone that's been keeping up with the channel. There's a lot more things that I want to do, and I like to think that in many ways, in more ways than one, gaming saved me. I don't know what kind of life I would have been leading as a child and then a teenager. And don't get me wrong, I was skipping school all the time, being at home, playing Mud. I don't know if any of you know Mud, M-U-D, multi-user dungeon. It was like text-based RPG. It's like the old school RPG. To me, Mud is like it was the blueprint for MMOs, but it was all text-based. Anyways, yeah, I used to skip school all the time to play Mud on like this beat-up, super old computer. But that was like one of the few things that the computer we had could play, because we weren't really... There was a lot of love growing up in my family with my siblings and my mother. My parents were divorced, but there were not a lot of means. So that old beat up computer, I was able to play Mud with it. So, you know, I did a lot of that in my teenage years. And yeah, I like the thought of giving because I can, because I know the impact that gaming had in my life at some point in time. And today I am here trying to make a living talking about, well, not the games themselves, but the peripherals that are associated to the games that we play and that we love, and that allows us to travel to different worlds and have our imagination be sparked up, and, you know, all the things that gaming do for us. Guys, thank you very much for watching. As always, you know what to do if you like this video, all the YouTube stuff. If you happen to have commented and you're not from Canada or US and your name would get drawn, I do apologize. I do invite you to comment still, and I realize that would suck. But yeah, unfortunately, because there's a battery, there's laws that prevents me. There's a lot of, like, even if I take cost outside of the realm of just me shipping outside of US and Canada, because there's a lithium battery, it would be a whole issue. There are laws in Canada and the US that prevents us from shipping. Well, technically I cannot even ship to the US if there's a battery, if it has to hit the air. If it's ground, I can. So if somebody from the US wins, I'm gonna have to ship this by truck. I cannot use plane to ship it. Anyways, I'm renting on. This is a terrible video. That does not represent the way that I make my videos. Usually it's probably going to be lightly edited as well. Yeah, I just had to power through this one because, again, there's some mixed emotion involved for me with this celebration, despite this very much being a celebration. For the last time, thank you very much for being here, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace. What?